Hello and welcome back to Void Dreamer. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, Void Dreaming. We had a talk with Oba about what's going on, her suggesting a little bit of caution with Anwell, but also trying to advocate for his, well, I forgot the word. For him not being the big villain that everyone thinks that he is. And of course, Oba being basically everywhere and everywhere at once, she is able to see that even the characters who advocated for him staying also are a little bit wary of him actually being there. So that would be the Captain, Bromka, and Tulmani. We also spoke to Bromka and Anwell and found out that Anwell is still lying. He isn't being completely truthful about what happened. And he did let out that apparently he was besieged by pirates, which again doesn't make sense because pirates do not have the capability to do what they did. So either he was lying or it was people that were disguised as pirates or pirates with military spec, which again wouldn't make sense because as Kalia and the captain put it earlier, that's just not possible for them. They lack the resources in order to be able to do that. So yeah, there's a lot of suspicious stuff going around with Anwell, despite the fact that he seems very like, oh my god, I'm so defenseless. Like, oh my god, I was almost dead and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, I don't trust you. If I could kick you out, I would. But yeah. So yeah, that's mostly what happened, I guess. Or from what I can remember. Even though I'm recording this specific thing right now after the fact. But yeah. Rail still seems to be very hung up on the fact that he may have blown up another ship with his own code, even though everyone is basically telling him like, yeah, I kind of looked over your code. It's perfect. We don't see what could have possibly gone wrong. And that's coming from Tulmani and Oba. But still, he still wants to be a little bit of a self-deprecating little pup, so whatever. Anywho, so we're about to round out the ending for this update. And yeah. So yeah, let's just finish out the update. It's currently gone on way longer than I expected. You really are packing a lot of content into these chapters, aren't you? I could technically go back into the rec room and meet Tulmani. I don't want to go here. I already know what's there. I don't want to deal with that. There should be nobody in the infirmary, and I don't think anybody would be in the gym. I haven't checked. I could just go to sleep. I mean, I personally want to go to sleep right now. It's 10 p.m. I'm tired. I could speak with Jack, but like I said, I am tired. I do like Tulmani, but it's so long. It's already so long. I realize that if this keeps going, I mean the in each chapter where you have to, well, not maybe have to, but it kind of made it feel like, oh, you have to speak with everyone available in order to prevent something happening to the ship. That if I have to keep doing this, I am gonna be so upset. I did not expect to it's not even that I'm being forced to do it, it's that that you kind of feel compelled to speak with as many people as possible for story purposes. And I just wanted to focus on Bromka and the captain and Tulmani and Oba. And technically that's what I'm doing, I suppose, if I were to pick to go into the rec room right now. But like, my god, there's another character now that I have to babysit. At the end of a long day, the rec room seems like the best place for you to wind down. As you arrive, you find yourself not alone. Tulmani is present, seated in a neural interface chair. A blinking light at the corner of your view flashes for your attention. You turn. It's one of the data terms. As you wander over, the display on the data term stops flashing and settles into a text chat interface. It's immediately familiar, given you saw it on your first day working with Tulmani. The interface flashes once as letterings begin to stream across the display.
Hello, Rail.
Yep, that's her all right. You sit down on the data term and bring up the keypad. Hello.
Apologies. I would have welcomed you in a more physical capacity were I conscious.
That seems to be a good reason not to.
Indeed. Unfortunately, I require rest at this time. Physical interaction would cause too much of a strain on my system.
You wince. That's gotta be a challenge for her, that you're glad that you don't have to deal with yourself. I'm sorry to hear it. Should I leave you be?
Not at all. If I wanted that, I would not have alerted you to this avenue of communication. Instead, I wish to extend an invitation into my environment. I can explain better there.
Well, it's hard to get more solid an invitation than that. It certainly sounds interesting to you. I'm only doing it because it's her. I'd be very happy to join you.
I am glad to hear that. Please select an interface chair. I will do the rest.
To be allowed into such an intimate location begs the question of what you intend regarding her. I am not looking in. I am interested in her, but not in that way. You will not be able to progress romance with her. You make your way over to the interface chair besides Tulmani's. It seems to be a standard model from what you can tell, with no obvious modifications or improvements. Now that you're closer to her, you've got the distinct impression that her chair has been altered to fit her specific and enhanced capabilities. Rather than the singular mind-machine interface port and cable, all four of the braided hair-like cables plug into her skull and connect to the chair. If anything, it's a setup more akin to her interface chair on the bridge than any chair that you've otherwise seen. Either she or Zuberi really sprang to give her a custom setup. You, however, don't need anything quite so fancy. You settle yourself down in the chair beside her and pluck up the MMI cable. In a moment, you've plugged into the neural socket behind your ear. There is a pressure there, a tingle as you feel the electrical signals in your brain becoming just a little busier. With the connections established, you begin to perceive the space around you differently. New options float like illuminated words in the air above the chair. It takes mere flickers of thought to sift through the options overlaid through the visual senses. It's made all the easier by a foreign signal clearing them out. Tulmani, no doubt. When at least you've gone through all of the relevant connections and safety protocols, an invitation lights up before you. Private connection. Private VE. Full integration. Intraship networking. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot, especially for a meat brain lacking in any sort of cyberware that she's had installed. Unfortunately, there aren't any other choices. Clearly, Tulmani is staying in this environment, and if you want to actually spend time with her, you're going to need to follow. The interface reads your intentions and accepts it as a decision made. You feel your physical body relaxing against your will, and you settle in as best as you can before you lose all motor function. There is a flash as your eyes close, and then they're open. You don't know what you expected, but this isn't it. Every surface gleams, the air around you clinically clean, sterile, if you had to guess. It's a tall hallway, artfully framed by segmented walls that bulge out at your level. There are no windows either, and any doors are concealed by the extruded walls segments. Worse, there is a strange artifacting all over. Lights are mismatched, zones aren't loading properly. Something about this environment is terribly, terribly wrong. You can't even see the ceiling. The simulation fades away into pure light. It's like it hasn't compiled properly, like the computer can't even read the data right. As you crane your head, you feel fabric shifting around you and look down again. You grimace as you look down. You're wrapped in a thin white robe. It's tight around your neck and wrists, but otherwise loose and flowing. Definitely not what you would expect to wear here. There is a tingling in your... as you wince. Normally, you're used to underwear. Seems as though the environment hasn't accounted for that and giving you any here. Tulmani? Are you there? There's no response. Tulmani? You look around yourself again. There's still no one around. There's no real standout sounds, no smells. For an immersive environment, this is, well, it's coming close to sensory deprivation. Neither end of the corridor has opened up. The doors at each end, faded into the artifacting of the environment, remained sealed shut. Your fur stands on end beneath your robe. Teeth grit. You start to sidle up to the wall. The sound of footsteps to your right turns your head, but there is no one there. You growl to yourself. As the footsteps grow louder, the air in their direction seems to distort and shimmer. There is something there, concealed within the whatever this is. It draws closer. Tulmani? The rippling thing seems to pause. It rides in place. It feels like it's looking. Like it's looking at you. There is a pressure around your neck. Your breath catches. The wall is cold. So is the grip around your throat. You gasp. Tulmani! There is no response. Something warbles in your ear. A stinging pain enters it right after. You try to scream, but the grip on your throat chokes it out. Your eyes roll back, the light brightens. You blink. You're in a forest. As you pant for breath, heart racing in your chest and a lingering chill around your neck, you cast your gaze around yourself. The forest only extends so far. You stand at the edge near a tall cliff, a bright blue sky marred by the streaks of white cloud stretching out above. Far below and beyond, more of the auburn foliage reaches into the distance. It almost seems to go on forever. That thin robe is gone. You're wearing the same clothes as you entered the environment and, fingers clasped at your arms, feeling for yourself as you heave a relieved sigh through a tightened throat.
A magnificent view, is it not?
You whirl away from the sight to behold Tulmani. She stands tall, looking out at the forest below rather than at you. You open your muzzle to speak, but you can't. That cold feeling tightens around your neck again. When you offer nothing, the otter's eyes turn to you. There is a hint of concern on her features as she steps closer.
Rael, are you well?
Once more you try to speak, clearing your throat as best as you can. The tightness fades, but the cold feeling continues to linger. No, I... You look around yourself again, just to be sure. The environment is so different to whatever you just found yourself. What just... Tulmani, what was that? The side tilts her head slightly.
I do not understand the question.
I wasn't... You swallow hard. The cold is finally starting to recede. Your heart, however, refuses to slow. When I loaded into your environment, I was... You growl at yourself, as much an attempt to steady yourself as it is to express your discomfort. Your fur continues to bristle despite your best efforts. I loaded into... somewhere else. You weren't there.
Impossible.
You frown. Another growl escapes your muzzle, and the otter actually takes a step back from you. I know what I just experienced. It happened.
I do not doubt your interpretation of events. I meant no offense, and I offer my unreserved apologies. Please wait. I will engage diagnostic protocols.
That's not going to do a damn thing, and you know it. You've got more than a little experience with this sort of thing. It's a waste of time. If that was a neural lock desync, it won't show up on the diagnostics. She pauses, silent for a moment as she looks back to you once more.
Apologies again. I forgot for a moment that your expertise extends to such matters. I am not attempting to diagnose a neural lock desync. I am attempting to trace synaptic recordings to pinpoint the sensations that you experience.
Your fingers rise to your throat, stroking over where the whatever was gripped you. The chairs here record synaptic activity during a mind dive?
Not ordinarily. Due to the nature of my environment being drawn from memory injections, it is an added layer of safety protocol that I insist upon.
You rub at your neck again. A memory injection sim, though? That explains why everything else seems so lifelike. If this was taken from her memories, then it would have to. Aren't memory injection sims dangerous?
Very much so. You're familiar with the dangers?
You nod. Anyone who works with soft or ever had any interest in sim tech to any degree learns those lessons quickly. Virtual mind destabilization syndrome. The Simber starts disconnecting from reality and connects more with the VE, and the mind reinforces it because it recognizes the memory. Side effects may include psychosis, so yeah, best to avoid. The otter nods and looks to the stream at her side.
This is true. However, it is not a factor here that you need to worry about.
And why's that?
Because I do not possess this memory.
She waves a paw towards the trees.
I have no memories of my time before my employment with Captain Zuberi. The augmentation process has stripped them from me over the years.
Never heard of any neural augments that would damage memories.
No, you have not.
You don't know if that's a reassuring answer or not.
Do not be afraid, because my mind does not recognize this place as being from my memories. The risk of VMDs is essentially zero. If I were to undergo a psychotic break, it would not come from here.
That's not very comforting, doubly so given what I just experienced. The Sype looks up again.
This has never before been a problem.
Well, it sure felt like one this time.
Evidently so.
She closes her eyes as you fold your arms. Whatever just happened, you're still not sure that a diagnostic will turn it up. Your concerns are vindicated a moment later as she opens her eyes again and nods.
All systems nominal. I can detect that you entered a panic state upon entering the environment, but nothing more than that.
You grit your teeth. That was more than a panic state, and it sure as anything wasn't nominal. Tulmani.
I believe you.
You blink. You do?
I have no reason to believe you are lying.
She waves a paw around herself.
But the data does not corroborate your assertion. Consequently, I am unsure how to proceed.
Tulmani, what just happened was... You shake your head and sigh. It's seared into your memory now. That cold grip, the spike of pain in your ear. The fear.
The synaptic loggings was most conclusive. When you loaded into my environment, you arrived here immediately. You were in a state of panic. There is no record of you loading into any side sim, vSlice, or DevOp. You jacked in and arrived promptly.
That is not what happened.
Are you concerned that you are well? I could disengage us and summon the doctor.
I guess. I'm sure that I'll live. No need to disengage. But I do want to get to the bottom of whatever that was. The otter looks up into the sky briefly before shaking her head.
I do not know how much assistance I may be. Every system that I am connected to is in agreement that you did not experience what you claim to have experienced.
You narrow your eyes and growl again. No matter how many times she says that she believes you, she keeps reminding you of what the data says. Something happened. I didn't just load straight into this nice little scene, Tulmani.
I understand. Please forgive me. I do not intend to imply any doubt in your assertion of events.
Sure she doesn't.
I am intimately aware of every single aspect of this environment.
Because it's a memory injection, right? You frown as she nods. Could what I have seen been another memory? At that, the otter shakes her head. It comes so quickly that the words barely have a chance to leave your muzzle.
Yeah,
And why's that?
because the memory here is just data, impulses fed through the simulation, drawn from an imprint of my memory, and of the specific time. I can read the data as though it were my own thoughts. I understand the totality of it. Nothing in this environment should induce something as primal as panic. It is antithetical to the purpose of the environment. I come here to relax.
That wasn't relaxing.
Clearly.
She folds her arms as she regards you with those glowing, emotionless eyes.
Please describe the locale for me.
You shiver as you recall the events. It was a hallway. Tall ceiling, white walls, featureless. It smelled sterile. She doesn't move as you tell her this. You wonder briefly if she disconnected and her V-self is just frozen in place. But then her whiskers twitch, and you know that she is still there.
A short corridor or long?
Long, really long. Doors to either end. Some white material.
Markings? Writings?
You think back, run it through your mind. No writing, no markings. It all looks so artificial.
All buildings are artificial.
You sigh.
Was there anyone else in there with you?
No, I mean, I don't know. Her eyes narrow slightly.
Clarify.
There was something present. I couldn't see or hear what it was.
How did it manifest?
You still don't know how to answer that. A distortion of the air, if anything. Honestly, if I think about it on a purely technical level, it reads like corrupted data.
A deletion point. Yes, I concur. And yet, just such a deletion point makes no sense.
Because this is a memory injection, there shouldn't be deletion points.
Yes,
So when you created this,
I did not.
you weren't expecting that response. Your eyes narrow. What do you mean you didn't? You mean you didn't craft the sim?
That is correct.
But it's a memory injection from your own past.
That is also correct, insofar as I can confirm.
Okay, now you're entirely lost. She seems to notice. The otter shakes her head as she folds her arms. Would you care to elaborate?
I cannot. I do not have the information necessary to do so.
Her paws click together as they clasp together before her.
I feel a connection to the sim. It was one of a dozen that were left with me when I arrived at the Astrogation Guild. Connections, desires, wants. I have few of them now, but this place, this sim, I feel at home here. It is all I know. My life before the Astrogation Guild, I have no recollection of.
You frown deeply. That's not even close to a good situation, especially for someone so comprehensively augmented as Tulmani. And these VEs are all you have left to remember your past?
No, I have records in triplicate that designate my identity in history. I do not trust them entirely out of turn, but I have no reason to believe that they are falsified. These virtual environments are tagged by my primary MMI. I have no doubt that they are drawn from my memories of some time before. But precisely when, I cannot say.
So you can't even be certain that the VE that you're standing in is even her design. And the only assurance that you have that it's a memory injection sim is from an amnesiac. That has got to be so unnerving.
It is not so unnerving as you might think. I have no control over the events of my past, and do not mourn my lack of one.
I mean, that'd be a lot for just anyone else to take on. You're certain that the sims are from your memories?
MMI signature confirms it.
And I guess electrochem confirmation wouldn't be possible if the memories were pulled before neural augments went in.
Correct. Altered electrochemistry in the brain makes such verification impossible.
You stroke your chin as you regard the Saib seated before you. It's an interesting situation at the very least. Are the sims stamped and signed? At that question, the otter actually smiles. Not a flicker or a quirk, but a full-blown, legitimate smile.
Your sharpness does you much credit, Rail. Yes, they are stamped and signed, but the stamps are incorrect.
Sliced?
No, I do not believe that they are forged. The data appears, for all intents and purposes, to be legitimate, unedited, no correction or deletions. But the timestamps do not line up with the rest of the data. I have yet to be able to determine a root cause that would explain it.
You might have also been left wondering if you hadn't spent the last several months working up navigational soft for the Astrogation Guild. Well, here's something that you maybe didn't consider. Temporal paradox. The otter smile vanishes.
Clarify.
Under normal circumstances, a primary or temporal mechanics would be a waste of time. Tulmani isn't a layperson, however. The casual anchor allows a starship to traverse warp space, or in time, distorted real space, without warping the local space-time. It normalizes the flow of relative time. If it weren't for that, any warp space travel would run the risk of violating local causality. The paradox might not even stay local.
You are suggesting that I was aboard a vessel with a compromised casual anchor?
I'm suggesting that it's a possibility. It's a hell of a thing to suggest, and you know it. But then, if Tulmani has exhausted all of the options, if the casual anchor wasn't functional, or failed during warp space traversal,
If it were not functional, the fail-safes would activate and prevent the warp core from engaging. But, as you say, if it failed during warp space traversal, yes.
through her tone you can detect a subtle new note. If you'd not become so accustomed to how she talks, you'd have missed it. It's there, on her face again, plain as day. Fear.
Yes, I believe that could account for the erroneous timestamps.
It could. I'm not saying that's what happened. I mean, it's infinitely more likely that the timestamps were keyed to faulty hardware, recorded incorrectly, or changed after the fact through a method you don't understand.
You were right, of course.
The fear is gone. Her tone is back to its usual emotionless state. Somehow, that just makes the lapse even worse.
I will do my best not to dwell on such things. Still, you have presented me with information that I had not previously considered. The insight is valuable, and I am very grateful.
You're welcome. I just wish that I could do more.
And perhaps you may yet. But that will be consideration for another time, and another place.
You frown as you look up and around again. The trees rustled in the breeze, blowing up and over the cliff face. But I think that you know where my mind's at now. She nods slowly.
That what you experience is an aspect of my own memories that I cannot recall.
If you didn't author the memory injection, if you were just the subject, then there's no telling what the author put in there, or what they took out. Tulmani closes her eyes as she squeezes her paw together. They click and strain, motors whirling.
Having seen your reaction to what you appear to experience.
What I experienced.
Yes, what you experienced. Apologies. It is distressing to consider that this event could be somewhere within the environment, within a memory I have lost.
Her eyes open as she looks up and around herself once more.
I will require time to isolate correct neural pathways linked to this aspect of the memory injection. Such a task is likely to be extremely difficult.
Less difficult with help. The smile on the otter's face is the same as it always is. Slight, subtle, restrained, you would even say. But just now, there was a new element that you couldn't help but notice. It looks forced.
Your offer is generous, and under ordinary circumstances I would be very pleased to accept it.
However,
this is a matter that I am uncertain can be aided externally. It is quite literally an internal problem.
but you know that I've got the right kind of skills to actually help out here. I've got the perfect combination of skills, Tulmani. My IGA education, I covered more cybernetic subjects than most people even know exist. Add that to my knowledge of the soft. It won't matter how much shadow soft's running in the background on your hardware, I can find it, fix it. Her smile becomes a little more genuine, even as she shakes her head.
Your offer is generous, and eventually I may be able to take you up on that offer. At present, even the desire to help is of significant value to me. But in order for you to be able to positively affect how this turns out, I must first identify the problem. That is, unfortunately, something that you cannot help with.
You're sure?
Empirically. Consider, the environment has no record of your anomaly. The system has not tracked it. This means that the evidence of it exists in only two places.
Your sim and my memories.
Precisely so. It will not have left no trace. Such a thing is not possible.
And you're the only one who's so familiar with the environment as to notice the cracks.
If there are any, and if this is not some other matter.
You frown. Could it be?
It is unlikely, but possible. If this is not a matter of misperception on your part, or a fault in the memory injection sim, it could be a local error.
You frown. It's hard to believe that Zuberi or Oba, let alone Tulmani, wouldn't have noticed a system fault like that. We could probably rule that out.
Probably, but not completely.
She glances away to the tree line.
The visceral reaction that you experience demands that whatever this is, it be taken seriously. From your reaction and your explanation, to do less would be irresponsible.
And it could be a chance to figure out some of your lost memories. The Cybe nods slowly as she looks up briefly to the simulated sky.
That consideration had occurred to me, yes.
You nod and sigh. All right, I want to help, but I trust that you know what's best. If you don't need the help right now, I'll trust that you'll let me know when you do. But if you do, I trust that you'll let me know what I can do. She remains silent for a long moment as her eyes fix on you once more.
That trust in me is more appreciated. I do not intend for it to be punished or wasted.
You try to smile for her sake, and it's gratifying to see the expression returned.
Thank you.
You're welcome. She steps forward until she stands right before you. Her left paw lifts to press your chest, just over your heart. You shiver at the touch of those cold mechanical digits. The echo of the chill around your throat returns, albeit briefly. Tulmani bows her head until her forehead touches the back of her paw. Before drawing back again, her paw falls away. Some of that cold touch lingers, but you put it out of your mind.
I will not be able to rest, not if I have this problem to turn over.
You're hardly surprised. Did you want me to leave?
I had considered it, but as the idea occurred to me,
She takes another step back and shakes her head.
Would you stay, just for a short while? I know that I just said that you would not be able to help, but you are, not me.
People have said that about me, yeah. She flashes that soft little smile again.
I would like to consider options. Your perspective is external to my experiences. Perhaps you will identify something that I cannot. If nothing else, it will give me something to start. I admit that
You don't have to convince me. I'll stay.
You are certain?
There is just the barest hint of something in her voice. Desperation, eagerness, relief. Yeah, certain.
Thank you, Rail, again. I fear I am saying it far too much for it to retain the full meaning of the words.
Don't worry about it, really. This is too big for any one person to deal with.
I suppose that you are right. I am grateful that you were willing to stay.
She sits down slowly, crossing her legs and placing her mechanical paws on her knees. You mimic the pose as she takes a long, deep breath.
Very well. Let us see what we can figure out.
For the next little while, you become a sounding board for Tulmani's ideas and theories. Even with your not inconsiderable body of experience and knowledge to work from, it's clear that the otter understands herself and her environment better than you ever will. You're not surprised by this. It feels, for much of the time that you spend within the environment, that you're not quite able to do all that much to help her. She does reassure you repeatedly that your presence alone is helpful, and that otherwise she would only have herself to contemplate the circumstances with her. She just smiles when you tell her that the one's own company isn't always the best solution. You didn't think what you said was particularly funny. After a while, though, the otter does stand up again and tell you that she believes that she has a path forward, an idea that will take time to implement. She thanks you once again as you offer to leave her to her rest. When she reminds you that she is due on shift on the bridge soon, you sigh. You've stolen much of her downtime. Apologizing doesn't seem to change how she feels. She reminds you that this is an important matter and must be attended. She seems content to bear the cost, but you hope that she can relax soon. She looks exhausted, a virtual environment or not. At the very least, she does promise to do what she can. You're not convinced. However, as you disconnect from the environment and return to reality, you hope that she can. While she didn't have to go through what you did, and thank goodness, it's clearly affecting her. Unplugging yourself from the interface chair is a slow matter as you adjust to your physical body once more. It takes a moment, but as you settle yourself anew, you rub a paw across your neck. Whatever it was that happened when you jacked into her environment, it's clearly left a mental mark. You know that she'd figure it out, and you know that you're going to help her do that if you can. You don't even realize until you're disconnected so completely that in the wake of everything, you forgot to ask her anything about Anwil. Not that you're in the right frame of mind to do so anyway. Zuberi won't blame you for not keeping your head on straight after all of that. As you step out into the corridor again, you check the time. It seems to be roughly the end of what would have been the third shift. You've reached the end of what would have been an absolutely crazy day, and with one of the strangest things that you think that could have ever have happened. At least, now you have a chance to sleep on what all has happened. You make your way to the door to your quarters. No one seems particularly to accost you on the way, though you do catch sight briefly of Anwil coming from the commissary. He smiles and nods to you as he drifts past, making for his own door. Good night, Rail. You too, Anwil. Take care. His smile widens further as he nods to you. You slip into your quarters before anyone else can distract you. It's been a long day, but you need to get some sleep. The pad can wait a moment. Your clothes are stripped off in short order, and you make your way into the refresher unit. Stepping inside and keying it on, you close your eyes and relax into the gentle buffeting of the system's sonic emitters. They almost wind up lulling you to sleep entirely. It's only a particularly sharp yawn that startles you awake again. Maybe you belatedly realize you should have at least slipped a nap in earlier. Ah well, soon. By the time the refresher cycle finishes, you emerge with a clean fur and a long, low stretch. It's definitely bedtime. You've had quite a day. Heading back into your quarters properly, you sigh as you look back once more at your sleeping pad. Now you can settle in. As you lie down, it immediately relaxes beneath your body. It almost feels like you're sinking into it, which, given the day, that you're not entirely against. You sigh and close your eyes for a moment. Behind your eyelids, you can tell Oba's dimming the lights. Thanks, Oba.
Happy to help, Stray. Happy to help.
You open your eyes again, staring up at the ceiling as the sleep pad continues to morph beneath you to your needs. Mind if I ask a question?
Do I have a choice?
You smirk and shrug. Of course you do.
Then I mind. No questions.
You blink in confusion, but nod as you lay your head back. All right then.
Oh, don't go looking so sad now, Stray. I was just testing you. Go ahead. What did you want to know?
You hesitate a moment before you close your eyes again. Just been a long day, plenty of chances to get to know my shipmates. I just wondered if you thought that I made a good impression on any of them so far. The simulant tisks at you.
I am not your spy, Stray.
I don't want to peek in their minds. I just figured that you were watching.
Why would I do that?
Because you're always watching. She falls silent as you smile.
Tell you what, give me one name, just one.
Your eyes open as you sit up a little. You not expected that she'd throw you a bone. Maybe you've made a good impact on her too. Really?
Before I change my incomprehensibly massive mind, please.
Well, the people that I actually spend time with are Zuberi, Bromka, Tulmani, and technically this guy. But I don't care about them. Seriously, I don't care about them. Bromka.
Oh, eyes on our doctor, have you?
He's lovely. Of course I want to get in good with him.
You and only everyone that has ever boarded the ship after him. He does seem to command attention.
You nod and smile. Bromka is definitely the most friendly spacer that you've ever met. I just figured that after speaking with him.
You don't need to justify yourself, you know. Not to me.
You smile. Thanks, Oba.
I certainly can't fault your taste in company.
Kind of you. But you're all the good taste that I need. The stimulant coos at you from the ceiling.
It's no great secret that Bromka is a friendly one, but well done. He's certainly come around to you in short order. Whatever you're doing is working. Not that it's hard. He is open to you.
You nod and sigh with relief. You'd hoped as much, but it's good to have it confirmed. That's good to know. Thanks again, Oba.
Of course, don't think that I haven't noticed the way that you looked at him, Stray. Unfortunately, I don't think that you're appealing to him in the way that you're hoping. Seems like you've got a way to go if you want in the good doctor's pants, huh?
You shrug and smile. The only way is up, right?
I do hope that satisfies your curiosity.
It's certainly done part of it, but you wish that you could ask about the rest of the crew now. Absolutely.
Liar.
Sufficiently?
That's much better.
You chuckle and lie back on the sleep pad. Thanks, Oba. You'll wake me before the shift, right?
Of course. Unless there is an emergency, of course. Strange martins on the ship. Stranger wolves on the ship.
I'm sure you'll keep your figurative eyes open.
Always. I'm always watching.
You laugh a little more uneasy than you intended. Thanks, Soba.
Good night, Stray.
As the lights dim themselves to nothing and your sleep pad adjusts once more to your reclining form, you sigh and settle in. What a day, and it's only your second day on board Zuberi's vessel. When you'd arrived, you'd not have expected so much excitement, which says nothing about being asked to spy on the crew by the captain. Now, though, it feels almost like an inevitability. The knowledge that White Fangs are on the prowl is bad enough. The knowledge that they've already taken a run at your new guest, that's something much worse. You sigh and roll over. There is no point in worrying about things that you can't control. It doesn't mean that you'll stop, of course, just that there is no point in it. At least, you were able to explore more of the ship. The Dreamer may not be too large, but she's big enough to more than accommodate her crew. And being able to get to know a bit of the crew, that's just a massive bonus. The better you can get on with them, the more comfortable your time will be. Not to mention how comfortable you will likely be around some particular crewmates of note. And will certainly, as an individual, is an interesting addition to the mix. Getting to know the Martin was a fair use of your time. What exactly tomorrow brings you're not entirely sure. You already learned that you can't predict what any given day will include. You wonder how long Zuberi will want you to keep an eye on this crew. It still doesn't sit right doing this. You didn't even get the chance to share what you've learned today. Who knows what he'd really feel about everything that you could have reported. And the crew. You don't know how long it'll take for them to figure out what you're doing. Maybe they won't, but maybe they will. And that's all far, far more than you want to worry about. You try to shut it all out of your mind. Tomorrow, focus on tomorrow, and the boring day that you're expecting to have. Odds are good that tomorrow will just be a shift of boring stellar exploration and warp space scanning. You're actually not sure that you'd play those odds, if given the chance. As you settle back in against your pad though, the comfort of the surface and the length of your day both wrap around you, drawing you down towards sleep. Tomorrow will come too quickly already. As excited as you are to see what it holds for you, it's not enough to keep you from the lure of rest. You drift off surprisingly comfortably and let your concerns fade away with your consciousness. To be continued. Sweet Jesus, that was long. Finally. Okay, so covering what happened with Tulmani first. So it seems that there is something weird going on with Tulmani's memories, where after she did all of the cybernetic enhancements to herself, she seems to have lost a lot of her memories. She does have backups of her past that tell her probably where she came from, etc., 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 but like, what is considered your memory, meaning like all these experiences and everything that you went through is just missing. None of that is there. And despite the fact that she is able to produce, I guess, memory dumps as the simulation that Rail jumped into, she has no real connection to them because for some reason she can't really... She doesn't remember them. She does have some sort of attachment to them still because I recall correctly, she mentions that she feels good being in this memory, but she doesn't know why. She has no real link to it, except the fact that it just gives her like a nice little warm feeling. And that also probably explains why she is so robotic in her mannerisms and in her speech, despite me, vocalizing her and trying to give her some sort of emotional response to when she's talking or whatever. But like, according to the text, she's very robotic. She's very cold and calculating. And she only ever has like little brief slips and glimpses into her being more than just robot Tulmani or cybernetic Tulmani. But yeah, I'm wondering if the memory that she saw, or not the memory that she saw, that Rail saw, is sort of like the leftover part of when Tulmani was herself just organic. If I'm interpreting her correctly, meaning that she went from being just an organic being to being, not mostly, but for the majority of a cybernetic life form. And I'm wondering if the the thing that attacked Rail was actually the Tulmani that used to exist, sort of being like why did somebody do this to me, or why have I been forgotten? Because it kind of seems that the area where Rail was a laboratory. It actually kind of reminded me of like the hallways in Halo. I think it's in Halo 1, where the Master Chief is just like running around the whole bunch of like the interior of the Halo, and it's like a whole bunch of like tall, kind of spirally, not spiral, but like the hall. If I can find a picture, I will superimpose it here right now, but I'm not even probably gonna try. But it kind of reminded me of like the interior of Halo, where it's like very sterile, very just robotic and like empty. And perhaps this is a memory of either her trying to escape, maybe her waking up after her cybernetic enhancements and then attacking people or something, because it seemed very angry. Yeah. And it kind of seemed like it was a memory that was trying to be deleted. So perhaps it's the Tulmani that used to exist that had to be removed in order for this Tulmani to exist. So maybe this is giving us a kind of brief glimpse into what can happen with Tulmani, where you kind of lead her to become a bit more, for lack of a better word, human again. Also, that brings up an interesting thing, I think, from the very beginning, or actually, was it when, I think it was from when Rail and Bronca were talking, when they were in the rec room. They mentioned the human seed. I wonder if what happened in the story is that there used to be humans, and these aliens didn't really exist, or we didn't know about them. We ascended, and then we kind of decided to uplift all these animal people, and we just don't exist anymore. I wonder if that's what happened. But yeah. Also, we found out that Oba appreciates the fact that we treat her as a person. We don't see her as just the ship or a facsimile of what another crewmate can be. That we see her as an actual person, an actual crew member, somebody who is worth our time and like we want to know her opinion. We want to speak to her about these things. And it appears that she appreciates that, because everyone on the ship admittedly just kind of sees her as an annoyance, like a necessary annoyance that they all have to deal with, while Rail is the first one that apparently has been showing Oba some sort of like, oh, hey, you're pretty cool. Like, hey, how do you feel about this? And what is your take on this? I value your opinion. And Oba's like, oh, thank you. I haven't received this level of attention and admiration and personage in, well, never. But yeah. Anywho, so about the update as a whole, as I said in 2 videos down, I'm not exactly sure that I like Rail. And I still can't pinpoint or what it is about him that I don't like as a main character. I just kind of find him a little blah. And again, I realize that it's because of how he's being written that it's necessary for the story to have him be like that. But I don't know. I think I would enjoy the story a little bit more if Rail wasn't the way he is. And yeah, I know he contributes to the story. I know that the reason why he does and says the things he does could be based on how you decide to play with his origin during the prologue or whatever. But there's just something about him that I'm not really enjoying, which unfortunately does make it a little bit harder to enjoy the story itself. Like, again, like I said, he is in the story, he is contributing, but at the same time, it just feels like he's there. And that's it. And again, I do make the comparison again with the Mass Effect games where you expand the story by interacting with the many different companions and then going from world to world, doing the side quests, etc., etc. But Commander Shepard never really expands because he's just the vehicle for the player to experience this world. And that, I guess, kind of feels like what Rail is. Like, yeah, he has a quote-unquote backstory, he has his skills and whatnot, but like, this isn't Mass Effect. This isn't a video game, this is a story. And I guess I was expecting a compelling main character and he's not compelling to me. And unfortunately, that is making it hard to enjoy the story, if I'm being honest. Unfortunately, if you were to ask me, like, well, how can we change him in order to make the story more enjoyable, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Which I know, just, it's like, well, why are you complaining then? Why are you complaining if you don't offer an answer? Well, I'm sorry. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the story. No, I'm not bashing the story. I'm just voicing my opinion that unfortunately I'm having a hard time, I guess, enjoying the main character, which unfortunately is to the detriment of the story. But yeah, I mean, I like Bromka. I really like Bromka. I really like Oba. I really like Tulmani. I guess, kind of like the captain. Most of the other characters are like, okay, I guess. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Void Dreaming yourself, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, which will have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download the game and play it yourself. If you would like to support the project, you can subscribe to their Patreon, which, I mean, you already saw the supporters on the screen, so yeah, they do have a Patreon now. And I guess early access to builds of Void Dreaming. If you would like to support the channel, become a channel member. It does help support the channel and myself, and you get earlier access to these videos as they're being scheduled. If you would like to support me through Ko-fi because you can't support me through channel membership, or you just don't want to do that, then, you know, Ko-fi. And Throne, in case you're feeling generous, I guess. So yeah, I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.